Open the free iHeart app, tap podcasts, and dive in. Have a great true crime podcast week from iHeart. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts all in one app.
The Bacon Double Stack is back in the biggie bag with fries, nugs, and a drink, all for just $5. The following are to be expected: joy, disbelief, inability to think about anything else. This deal is effective immediately, and it's only at Wendy's.
Major bag alert. Bag alert. Major
Biggie bag includes 4-piece nuggets, small fry, and small drink. U.S. price and participation may vary.
We've made it easier than ever to try and buy color. Preview paint colors in your home with our Color Snap app. Then visit swsamples.com to have color chips delivered to your door for free. Or order some peel and stick samples to try on your wall. When you're ready to paint, shop online or stop by your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store and get everything you need.
Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. The good old buzz down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, we love you in Canada and Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave on it. Beautiful, beautiful. It is June the 22nd. It is 2021. Rondo Deportes. Bonjour, Big C. There's Vidi Vidi Vici. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Oh, Charlton, we're sitting back, relaxing, waiting on the Final Four to kick off in professional basketball, Charlton, to see which animal and which status figure will make it to the finals. Once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, and first responders. They'll be there to crown a new NBA champion.
They'll be there to crown a new NBA champion. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars never stop arriving. Also, all around the world, just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as a mystic. He'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at us to a picture. Man, I love pausing, Big C, but I will never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced, helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Big C, why should everybody care?
Well, Charlton, as we think about mental health in this country, and it comes in many different forms, from pressure to just oppression, Charlton, and even being, just down and out on any situation. We think about the people who commit suicide in this country, Charlton, a very horrific disease that has gone unstopped in America. And in that disease, Charlton, we lose over 24 veterans a day that have unfortunately committed suicide. We as a nation need to pay more attention to mental health. We're always thinking about physical health, especially when it comes to athletes, Charlton. We think about how strong and how big and how fast they are. But they also suffer through mental issues also, as well as our combat veterans, Charlton, who have gone out and served because they were big, strong, and fast. They could go out and ward off enemies. But when they come back home, Charlton, they can't ward off the mental enemies that they face. And unfortunately, it's led to suicide. We give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton, but we need as people to pay as much attention to the mental health of individuals as they do to the sporting events to help stem this disease.
I love that message, Big C, and we will do our part. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. You can definitely get some help for our veterans and their loved ones, even if that loved one is you. Also very happy to be affiliated with Valley, home with weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants, and the Say Hey Kid, as well as a home run king, Barry Bonds. When you reach out to him, just tell them Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country, helping to put people back to work just like McDonald's does it, car dealerships are doing, sports teams are doing it, watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. Most of our loans are underwritten by Rocket Mortgage, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, God said, "Let there be light." Open your cell phones and say, "Play Big C Sports Podcast." You will see all of our apps pop up, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. My goodness, Big C, you know, it's been such a pleasant day today. I think the temperature only reached about 99 degrees in Northern California, but I keep watching these advertisements that show up on television, and they're telling Californians if we could all just save 10% of our water, that we would save about 90 billion gallons of water per year. You guys spend that on the weekend, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we get that much water overnight with the rain. I mean, I went to bed last night, it was raining. I woke up this morning, it was raining. We had a complete deluge, Charlton. Matter of fact, got a few inches of rain once again.
Yeah.
But over the past 3 days, I think we've got a total of 8 inches of rain down here. So conserving water, we're trying to get rid of it.
Well, they have this thing called a pipeline, and I know a lot of people want a vacation in California. When you guys come out, at least bring the water with you, if that makes sense to you, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, we're not afraid to take long showers back there, Charlton. We adults.
Yeah, I just had my spit bath this morning. It's all fair. You spit on a towel and you wipe your backside. Nothing wrong with that, Big C. It's all fair in love and war. You know, as you mentioned, we do have a lot of great NBA basketball to look forward to. We're going to have a new champion for the 2021 NBA basketball season. But I want to start, I just feel, again, to have 3 of the 4 coaches being African-American in the NBA Finals, Big C. Does that mean anything to you at all? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean it should mean more to the owners of the NBA. I have always cherished the black man getting a job and having equal opportunity, which we haven't always gotten in society, Charlton, and even haven't gotten in professional sports where we dominate the league and from a player perspective.
Yeah.
You think about there's 7 openings in the NBA. And there's 3 coaches that are in the final that are African-American. You even think last year in the final, Charlton, Eric Spoelstra is a man of color who was in the final. So in the last 2 years in the NBA, 4 of the coaches that have been involved in the NBA finals, Charlton, have been of minority descent.
Yeah, it's all fair and love and war. I had some good old boys saying me that guarantees Budenholzer and the Milwaukee Bucks will win the finals. It's all fair and love and war because sometimes things are orchestrated to keep people in place. Just an opinion, a cynical opinion, but it is an opinion. It's all fair in love and war. But speaking of opinions, Big C, NBA news, LeBron James and Steph Curry, they're gone from the NBA playoffs, but still offers a lot of star power, and it recycles, Big C, just like they're saying save water in California. I guess the Splash Brothers are helping save water. They're not going to be splashing anymore in the playoffs this year, Big C. But for a decade, when you think about it, a lot of things that are good, they stand the test of time, Big C. Relationships, cars, business, everything good stands the test of time. For a decade, fatigue set in among some fans wary of seeing the same players and the same teams in the NBA Finals. Would you buy that, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think so, because for a league to grow is that you have to be able to display all of its superstars and all of its fine products. I mean, even Giannis said it best when they were talking about the MVP hunt, Charlton. He said even voters get voter fatigue and voting for the same player all the time.
Yeah.
You have to understand there's 30 franchises in the NBA, and every one of those cities have a fan base that desires to see their team host the Larry O'Brien Trophy.
Yeah.
So you can get fatigue of watching the same teams over and over, and all of a sudden you want to see something new, Charlton. I think it's good for the league to have diversity.
Yeah, the league decided to do that. They decided to swipe left and swipe right, Big C, so they get a new flavor of the day or the week, if that makes sense to you. But I do understand that for the past 10 seasons, it's been LeBron James, King James, and his Miami Heat and the Cleveland Cavaliers teams. Or it's been the Golden State Warriors dynasty with the great Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. This season, the NBA has 4 teams in the Eastern and the Western Conference Finals that have not won a title or have not won at least in the last 5 decades, Big C. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Milwaukee's the only team that's representing the NBA right now, Charlton, that won an NBA title, and I believe that was somewhere around 1973, 74. when Lou Alcindor was in his second year in the league, Charlton, and he and Oscar Robertson led the Bucks along with Bobby Dandridge and John McLaughlin to an NBA title.
Yeah.
Now you're going to get a nouveau team, Charlton. None of the players that are existing in this Final Four round robin of the NBA Finals was even born during that time.
Yeah.
So this is great. I mean, It's great for the league because now you create interest, Charlton, elsewhere other than the cities that have dominated over the last decade.
Yeah, it's like the NBA dating. You get tired of dating the same thing, so sometimes you swipe left or swipe right. Big C. The Milwaukee Bucks actually won their last title. It was 1971. The Los Angeles Clippers and Phoenix Suns, they've never won a title. They have a chance this year. And the Atlanta Hawks have never won a title since the franchise moved from to Atlanta from the city of St. Louis, where the St. Louis Hawks won a title, and that was in 1958. And oftentimes I've heard the Hawks like to fly south, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they have moved south, and they've been praying over the rest of the NBA, Charlton. They've done a masterful job.
Yeah.
You think of what McMillan has done as a coach, Charlton, since taking over as an interim basis and advancing this young team under his tutelage, Charlton, to have no fear. And that's where they've operated. They've gone out and taken on the teams that everybody had them as underdogs against, Charlton.
Yeah.
And they showed that a Bird is not an underdog because he can get above everybody.
Yeah, don't take for granted that most time when people see a bird is either flying in the sky or coming out of that skillet, Big C. These birds, they don't want to get that skillet, not just yet. It's all fair in love and war. In fact, I have a new advertisement for the Atlanta Hawks. It's called Atlanta Hawks! Atlanta Hawks! The great way that I guess that go to quarterback Peyton Manning says, Omaha, 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 Omaha! It's all fair in love and war. But when you think about it, since 1980, Big C, 12 NBA franchises out of these 30 that we have, only 12 have won a title. But 8 franchises, when you think about it, swiping left and swiping right, they've won 37 of those 41 titles, Big C. Your thoughts?
And so this is good for the NBA, Charlton. When you talk about having new stars in the league, new faces in the league, because Steph Curry's gotten older. LeBron James is old. And so you can't pin the NBA hopes on those guys going forward in the future over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, over the next 5 to 10 years. You're going to have some mixing things up, and I really appreciate the fact that African-American coaches are being a part of that mix-up in the coaching carousel, that they're adding more flavor to the carousel. So when you think about the pure basketball fan, will tune into these series because they enjoy the game, as a lot of guys do, a lot of historians. But it's the casual fans who need to come along for this conference finals ride. And I think as long as, the NBA, they build the NBA off of Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, or Larry Bird and the Boston Celtics, Magic Johnson and Showtime at the Forum at the back of the day, Big C, Kobe and Shaq, all those good old boys, now LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. They got to build it out, and they're going to keep doing it. That's why they're always going to attract the top players to the top markets when 37 of the teams have won, 41 of those titles, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I think the NBA is trying to move away from that, Charlton, letting all the teams go to a certain market and develop into dominance. I mean, when you talk about the casual fan is the one that comes along when you have a dominant team, Charlton. Okay, this is my side. I'm on this. They're winning. But the purists are the ones who understand and appreciate basketball, regardless of who's playing. They appreciate the purity of the game and the excellence of play on the court. They're not looking for names. They're looking for performance.
Yeah. Do you know, I mean, in your time of watching the NBA is developed into this, they always mention the superstar like Tom Brady and the New England Patriots used to be. Now it's Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you notice when that maybe changed in the NBA, or has it always been that way, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, since the NBA started getting broadcast in '69, from me remembering it on television, they've always had a marquee player or two on every roster that are led out, and these are the guys who are the last player introduced, Charlton, in the starting lineup from the play-by-play announcers in the stadium.
Yeah.
And each team has that marqueeism about them. The NBA has always been about that. You're going to take one guy and posterize him as the face of your franchise.
Yeah, Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. I remember seeing some games in United Center, and it was always Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, like Gladys Knight and the Supremes. Is all fair in love and war. The conference finals are fresh. They're invigorating. Storylines are abundant, Big C, that should appeal to fans, both casual and diehard. And what I really hope we see, and I really do hope we see this, I don't want to see star players fouling out. They can call a foul on any play. And I would love to see either don't call fouls or let them have 10 fouls, because you want to have this, you want to see the stars play, not the stars afraid to play because they don't want to get fouled out of the game. Big C, your thoughts?
I mean, but really, who is the star, Charlton? Everybody in the starting lineup is a potential star in the NBA. You can put the Marquisism handle on any player, but it's still that player's obligation to play the game and play the game right.
Yeah.
You can't, get favoritism when you're out there hacking another player, Charlton, and not expect to get the call.
Yeah.
If you're a star, then do the things that a star do, and don't sit out there like a crybaby.
Yeah. Well, it's all fair at Level War. Sometimes when the baby don't cry, if baby don't cry, don't get milk, Big C. And sometimes they just want someone to bring them some milk, Big C. That makes sense to you?
Well, a closed mouth don't get fed, Charlton, but a mouth that's too big always will go unnoticed.
It's all fair at Level War. I wish everybody nothing but the best. We do have the NBA is doing, again, their ritual of where they will have the NBA, the draft lottery picks, and they do it in the middle of the playoffs. I've always thought it would make more sense if they did it once the season is over, because to me that just makes sense. The Super Bowl, the NFL used to have the All-Star game. It was after the Super Bowl was played. Now they do it before the Super Bowl, and it's kind of lost some of its luster. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the NBA draft has nothing in comparison to the NFL draft, Charlton, and so they got to get it where it's going to be noticed. If you had a lottery for the NBA draft, Charlton, on an off night when no basketball is being played, nobody's going to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Because tell me who's coming out of college that are in the top 5 prospects as far as being drafted. No one even knows who half the college players are.
Yeah, a lot of people like Timmy coming out of Gonzaga, but I think there's a lot more to be proved. It's all fair.
But he's not going to be the number one draft. Timmy's not even coming out of college this year. You got European players ranked higher than half the NBA, American players in the first round.
Yeah.
So unless you're a basketball purist, you don't know. So they got to appeal to the casual fan when it comes to this.
Yeah, the casual fan when it comes to it. When they appeal, make sure they appeal with the Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, 100% on its game. It goes great with the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. It's all fair and level war. Tonight's WNBA schedule, Big C. Don't want to forget about the beautiful women playing WNBA basketball with all their great skills, Big C. Dallas is going to be in Connecticut. You have Chicago at New York, and Washington is going to be up in Seattle. Seattle could be nice. In fact, not only Seattle, but the state of Washington, they could be nice. And they could actually send some water on a pipeline down to California. It doesn't make any sense that we have always raining up on the great Northwest, and of course raining down south. We have bullet trains all over the place. We have airlines that can fly all over the world. We have tankers that can go from ocean to ocean, but no one's figured out how to put a big water hose from the great Northwest and bring it to California. Big C, your thoughts?
You got to talk to the Republicans in the Senate, Charlton, that reject the infrastructure bill. They'd rather have a pipeline built that will pump oil instead of a pipeline built that would pump water.
Yeah, they say wherever there's oil, there's life. No, that'd be wrong. They say wherever there's water, there's life. That's a clue. It's all fair and level war. Speaking of a clue, tonight's game, we have the NBA game. The Phoenix Suns, they are rising, Big C, and they're playing the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers have the good fortune of knowing what it looks like, that road map, when they follow that yellow brick road. They know what that map looks like, Big C, to fall down 2-0 and then claw their way back up to even the series when they go home. But this is a different breed of cat coming out of Phoenix, Big C. May not be the best road to take, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, even iron wears thin. You can't keep playing that hope card, Charlton, that you can go down 2-0 and be able to come back. You got to look at the teams that they were able to do that against, Charlton. Suffered catastrophic injuries that hurt key role players.
Yeah.
Especially against the Utah Jazz, where they were down without all their guards. You look at Phoenix, they got 3 healthy guards that they can come at you with. And you can't, use the excuse that Kawhi Leonard's not in the lineup because Chris Paul is not in the lineup.
Yeah.
But I think these young, athletic Phoenix Suns, Charlton, will be able to continue keeping up the pace against the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yeah, Ayton is going to do his thing, but that I'm telling you, the Booker is the real deal, and he's the real deal. Like they said, Evander the real deal, Holyfield, he's the real deal, Booker. And imagine when he starts to get into the weight room, the same way Michael Jordan changed his body, and he started dominating more, the same way Karl Malone, the same way Giannis has even gotten into the weight room to change his body. Steph Curry's gotten into the weight room and it's changed his body, and he had one of his better years ever. Imagine when Booker finds a weight room down there in the hot city of Phoenix. It's all fair in Leavenworth War. Big C, I wanna throw the football into the world of the NFL, because we talk about great point guards in the NBA, and these great point guards in the NFL, we call them quarterbacks, Big C. The NFL's ranking the NFL's top 10 quarterbacks of 2021. You're like, well, how do we know that? Because of maybe being clairvoyant? It's just a thought, Big C. But I want to ask you some thoughts of which of the NFL's current quarterbacks, however, truly stand above the rest, regardless of whether they're committed to their current team, are hoping for a new one, a.k.a. touchdown Aaron Rodgers, which passes reign supreme entering the 2021 season. And a lot of people are asking that question. When you can incorporate the past performance with future projections, that means you're prescient, Big C. And I just want to rank some top 10 quarterbacks going into the new season. You don't have to agree, but I want to get your thoughts on what it looks like, and everybody has their own opinion. Number 10, coming out of the desert, just like Booker, Big C. His name is Kyler Murray, and he plays for the Cardinals out of Allen High School in Texas, and then found his way to go on to the Big 12 and play some football at Oklahoma, Big C. But for all of his highlights and reels, when you think about what Murray's done, he struggled to deliver the biggest results in Arizona. They're 13-18-1 with 24 interceptions and a so-so 90.9 passer rating in the 2 seasons under the great Cliff Kingsbury. But he still improved in almost every category from 2019 to 2020, Big C. Your thoughts?
He's made tremendous strides, Charlton, on a bad team since he's been in the NFL. But now it's time for him to show his mettle in his 3rd year in the league. He's made improvements over these first 2 years, but now it's time for him to take a leap of faith to see if he can get the Cardinals into the playoffs, and if he's going to be their pure future going forward from this point.
Yeah. I mean, they've had a lot of good quarterbacks down there in Arizona, and now it's time for him. He's probably the most athletic of all of them, and whether it's Warner or Palmer that were doing their things, he's definitely, that, in my opinion, the most athletic of them all. And then number 9 on the list, and I think about this kid when he did his thing up at Oregon for the Ducks, the great Justin Herbert for the Los Angeles Chargers. If anything, the reigning offensive rookie of the year is ranked a little bit too low coming out of the Pac-12, Big C. But it's fair to be cautious with hype, considering we've seen first-round studs flame out before. Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, Big C, them go through their things. Even though Goff did go to a Super Bowl, so I don't know why they think they're getting a better quarterback coming out of Stafford. It's all fair and love and war, though. But Herbert, he's a different breed of duck, Big C. When you think about it, his rookie season was amazing. He's very poised. He had great production coming off of that Rose Bowl win where they beat Wisconsin. Took us back to the NFL, got a chance to play because the quarterback got hurt before him, Tyrod Taylor. But mostly, Hall of Fame caliber talents in NFL history. I mean, I'm not calling him that yet. He's no Dan Fouts yet, but he sure has a high ceiling, Big C. Your thoughts?
I mean, he had a tremendous rookie year, Charlton. But, you know, you got to stay healthy in that sophomore year in the NFL. And a lot of times there's a sophomore jinx with quarterbacks. When you look at the division that he's playing in, he's having a revamped offensive line. Can they gel together and protect him?
Yeah.
Can his receiving core stay healthy? Will that defense stay intact all year? Those are the big question marks with the Chargers.
Yeah, a lot of big question marks, and they have that beautiful SoFi Stadium down in Los Angeles. They're going to actually share that stadium with the Los Angeles Rams. It's all fair and love and war. Big C, number 8 on that list is Superman Lamar Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens. There are legitimate critiques to be made out about Superman Jackson's his deep ball and big game passing ability. He's 1-3 in the playoffs. Even though he and his teammates are 1-3, they're going to say it's him. He completes only 56% of his throws. That's not very good. But when you think about it, if you're discounting the franchise quarterback label entering age 20, just think about this, age 24, you do not have to compile 68 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, 102.6 passer rating through 37 starts and go 30-7 by accident. He has a real Superman skills, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, he's had the mobility skills, Charlton. His passing game leaves a lot to be desired. That should have at least another 10 points on it. And until he can get to that point, the Ravens will never be a threat in the playoffs. You're only going to be able to run so much against various teams. But when you get to the playoffs, those are all playoff caliber teams.
Yeah, they're all playoff caliber teams. I wish them nothing but the best. It's just a matter of time. They keep knocking on that door, and they keep knocking on it, and he's knocked on it a lot. Now it's time that they get at least to that championship game. It's all fair and level war, but the NFL is a very tough business. Number 7 on the list, down in Texas, is a ranch called South Fork Ranch, Big C. It was known for J.R. Ewing's place. I think Jerry Jones bought it along when he bought the Dallas Cowboys. It's all fair and level war, but the great touchdown, Dak Prescott. Anyone who still thought that the former 4th rounder was mere good, I think is under the statement, Big C. The Cowboys included, they learned a lesson in 2020. Dallas weapons means very little without one of the NFL's, in my opinion, steadiest point guards. He'll always put the Cowboys in a position to challenge, even more so than the great Luka Doncic for the Mavericks, Big C. When you put him on a club with better coaching and an improved defense, and you're talking about, I think, a real contender in Dallas, Big C. Your thoughts?
Dallas had one of the most paltry defenses in the NFL last year. You think about when Dak Prescott went down, Dallas Cowboys went through 3 different starting quarterbacks.
That's right.
And none of them had the ability to equal any of the performance that Dak Prescott had. This guy is one of the most pure bona fide passers in the NFL that he has grown into that position, averaging 400 yards a game last year when he got hurt, Charlton.
Yep.
And the Cowboys would have made the playoffs with him. If they improve just slightly on defense, they will make it this year.
Yeah, I even heard some knuckleheads say, Andy Dalton's a better quarterback. Like, what? You know, they legalized 420, so a lot of guys can say a lot of things. It's all fair level war. Big C, another player on the list, and I wish him nothing but the best. He's going through some legal hurdles right now. The great touchdown Deshaun Watson for the Houston Texans. I believe he's an erstwhile Houston quarterback. It's unclear what the future holds for Watson, who turns 26 in September, so he's a young man. From a football perspective, though, he remains one of the game's top young quarterbacks, offering a very solid arm, Big C, very solid athleticism, and poise both inside and outside of the pocket. He can run for first downs. He can pass for first downs. His 2020 numbers, 4,823 yards, 33 touchdowns. He only had 7 interceptions. May have been inflated a bit on a bad team, but on the field, he checks almost every physical and mental box, Big C. The question is where and when, if those talents will return, and how will the residue of the legal issues deal with them, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I guess no news is good news when it comes to the situation with Deshaun Watson. Maybe the league will give him the same consideration that they gave Patriots owner Robert Kraft. And once the situation is over, just allow him to go back out on the field and play, because there has not been any criminal allegations made against Deshaun Watson.
No, it's just about give me some money, and then I won't tell what? Give me some money? Robert Kraft was on videotape, and they welcome him back with open arms, and it doesn't make sense even to a crooked person. It's all fair and level war. NFL, stand up. At least have people get the same treatment. That's my opinion. One guy's on videotape. He has enough money in the right skin color, and the judge made it go away. Maybe the judge visits that same parlor that Kraft was hanging out in, and there's no videotape on Deshaun on Watson, Big C, and they're acting like he was on videotape. It don't make any sense. Someone's got to say something. It's all fair and level war. I think we just did. Big C.
It's called black and white treatment, y'all.
It's called black and white treatment, and we got to speak out against it, because that garbage has to stop. It got to stop now. People quit shutting their mouths and saying it's okay. Number 5, Josh Allen, out of Fireball, California, by way of, I think he went to Wheatley College or Kings River College, and then to Wyoming. So he's climbed the ladder, Big C. And I think Wyoming is the highest altitude in college football. He played at a high altitude. So he started from the bottom, now he's up. The great Drake, Big C. Allen has
Second highest.
What, say that one more time, Big C, your thoughts?
Second highest.
Second highest, okay. Who's the highest? Is it Colorado Springs?
Flagstaff, Northern Arizona University.
Northern Arizona, sounds fair. It's all fair level war, Big C. Allen has improved in each of his 2 seasons since the point of rivaling guys like Lamar Jackson, touchdown Jackson, and touchdown Patrick Mahomes, Big C, as the position's premier playmaker. In a 2020 MVP candidacy, he can still stand to protect the ball a little bit better, and maybe even himself, Big C, doesn't have to run as much, but he's progressed really well. He's had a couple of unteachable, I mean, you can't teach size, he has the size. You cannot teach arm talent, he has an arm talent. And toughness, you cannot teach that too. But all ensures that Buffalo will remain a contender in the 2021 season and beyond. And a lot like Aaron Rodgers, they both came out on the JC route, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I like the development that Josh Allen has made in his 3 years in the NFL. When you look at the heights that he has taken Buffalo to the AFC Championship game, Charlton, he leapfrogged all those other quarterbacks that you talked about earlier in this sequence as far as development. And, you know, he was right there in the MVP chase. He accounted for over 50 touchdowns last year for the Buffalo Bills. So if he continues with that maturation process, he'll be right back in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, that's very well said. Big C, I have a question before the Big C pause. It's a question for anybody listening in the universe. If people say that somebody leapfrogged, if frogs can leap so high, why are they on so many menus, Big C? Your thoughts?
Because they're delectable taste, Charles. A nice, tender, juicy meat is just a lot. It's like it tastes a lot like scallops, Charlton, when you think about it. So it's desirable.
Hey, yeah, they don't leap high enough. They should call it duck frog. They should duck the net as opposed to try to leap over the net. It's all fair and level. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps, and I really do appreciate the growth with Big C Sports. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe, just like God said in Genesis 1:3. Let there be light. Open your cell phones and say, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up from all over the world, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. You know, sometimes they say age ain't nothing but a number. And I never really understood that age ain't nothing but a number, Big C. Using my best ebonics is all fair in colloquial war. The great Tom Brady, number 4 on this list, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brady's going to be 44. They say age ain't nothing but a number, Big C. Could be a physical setback finally be coming. We refuse to entertain that even the idea until Brady hangs up his cleats. And he's going to be the one that hangs up, not somebody pulling him off the floor, Big C. He doesn't have the biggest arm. We just talked about Allen, his big arm. Brady does not have the biggest arm, Big C. He's practically an immobile quarterback, Big C. He's like a statue. And when you think about it, in my opinion, he's more prone to turnovers than you'd think. He just came off a little bit of knee surgery, but he still got the touch of both precision and deep ball passing accuracy. He's still one of the smartest to play the position, and he's surrounded by a familiar and talented supporting cast out of Sarah High School in San Mateo, California, and the University of Michigan. And now he's only had 2 teams since coming out of Michigan. That's been the New England Patriots and now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Big C, your thoughts?
What does speed have to do with you getting rid of the ball on time, understanding what your defense opponents are doing, being the smartest individual on the field? That takes away from any disadvantage of those other physical attributes may have. You see quarterbacks running because they can't tell what the defense is doing and can't get the ball out of their hands. Tom Brady has proven this for 2 decades, that he has been the best quarterback in the NFL, and his 7 Super Bowl championship rings prove that.
Yeah, it does prove it. He's even lost a couple of Super Bowls. In fact, he's lost more Super Bowls than some people even have been to.
He's lost more Super Bowls than any quarterback on this list has been to.
Yep, they're very well said. Number 3 on that list, Big C, looking for his 3rd Super Bowl appearance. Touchdown, Russell Houdini Wilson, Seattle Seahawks. Big C, pretty astounding. Former baseball player in college. That we review Wilson's 2020, in which he threw a career-high 40 touchdowns to go 12-4. And consider that kind of disappointing because of the way it all ended. I mean, Houdini Wilson's amazing, but it speaks to the bar that Russell Wilson has set for himself. You'd like to see more of a playoff presence. He's lost 4 of the last 5 postseason games, but those are nitpicks, Big C, for a guy who's never had a losing season. Not one losing season for a touchdown Houdini Wilson, Big C, who remains arguably the game's calmest pocket operator. What did the great Sade say? Smooth operator. He's a smooth operator, Big C. I don't think his wife's going to get mad by bringing up Sade with the great Russell Houdini Wilson. It's all fair in level work. Here, no, it's all fair in level work, Big C. When you think about it, alongside touchdown Patrick Mahomes, who might still be ascending as a passer going into his 10th season, no matter what Russell Houdini Wilson does, he will always and forever regret that they did not turn around and hand off to beast mode when they were trying to beat New England to go back-to-back champions. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he personifies consistency in the NFL from the quarterback position. He has not always had the strongest of supporting cast, but he's always been able to deliver as a quarterback of the Seahawks.
Yeah.
And this year will be no different. I mean, I think they will add some more talent around him, Charlton, to give him a better opportunity to win the NFC West.
Oh, man, that's a tough conference to win, too, with the Rams being strong, especially defensively. They got a pick 6 on them last year. The 49ers will be legit. Their defense is back, Big C. We'll see what happens with Jimmy G. Arizona, they can always, like an upset waiting to happen, especially down in the desert, but it's going to be tough to win the NFC West. Number 2 on that list, I don't know if he's a game show host or if he's still a quarterback. He came out of Pleasant Valley High School in Chico, California, Northern California, and then he went to Butte College, Big C, played junior college ball, just like a lot of other good old boys did not have to play. He and the good old boy Allen, they're out of California junior colleges, Big C. Touchdown Aaron Rodgers for the Green Bay Packers. Brady's waltzing into the New England from New England to Tampa Bay to win a Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl 55. It was a showy performance for an old-timer. They say age ain't nothing but a number, but touchdown Aaron Rodgers' 2020 MVP resurgence might have been even more impressive, Big C. The Green Bay upset, think about it, they upset in part by drafting a potential successor to him, which is what happened to him and Brett Favre, but he went off the tune to 48 touchdown passes, age ain't nothing but a number, in second straight NFC title game that they lost to the 49ers and also the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. At age 37, he's still one of the sharpest minds and arms in the league, but at the same time, he has to be willing to say what he's going to be and not keep hiding in the fog. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is what NFL leverage is called, that you can dictate what's going to go on. Nobody's going to walk away from Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the NFL, bar none, regardless of what other players have done team-wise. This guy has been a level of consistency throughout his NFL career and had a banner season this past season. So he's going to be in Green Bay. They're not going to give up on their future that quick, Charlton. Because in the NFL, the future is now, not what you can do 2 years from now.
Not what you can do 2 years from now. Or the great Janet Jackson, what have you done for me lately? It's off there, number 1. Number 1 on that list. And speaking of what have you done for me lately, touchdown Patrick Mahomes, 3 times AFC Championship game, going to Super Bowls back-to-back, Big C, and then they 1-1 in those games, even though he had a makeshift offensive line, Big C. At the same time, he had record numbers in the Super Bowl, passing oftentimes like he was in a movie. He was throwing from his side as he's floating above the air, Big C. So how could anyone else be on this list on the top of Mount Rushmore? No one offers a tantalizing combination of youth and age. They say age ain't nothing but a number. He's 6'3", 230 pounds. He has effortless arm talent, early career production. When you think about it, it's simply a storybook, Big C, like a cartoon character. 114 touchdowns, only 24 interceptions, a 108.7 passer rating through 46 starts. Those are comic book numbers, Big C. In postseason familiarity, 3 AFC title games and 2 Super Bowls in 3 years as a starter. He's done that. If Lamar Jackson is a magician on the ground, then touchdown Patrick Mahomes, he's a magician elsewhere, Big C. When you think about pairing those impossible throws with an inherent confidence, you're betting on any quarterback to win multiple championships starting in 2021 and for years to come. There really is no question. It should be number 15, touchdown Patrick Mahomes, who I really believe, they say he really likes ketchup on his steak, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, maybe Lamar Jackson should spend some time with Patrick Mahomes, Charlton, and learn about passing skills. If he could incorporate passing skills with his leg skills, he would move up higher on the list. But when you talk about Patrick Mahomes, he is the complete package when it comes to an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
He has the mobility. He can throw from any position arm-wise, Charlton, and get the football to any position on the field. He is the greatest production quarterback that we have seen in our lifetime over his short NFL career. And if he stays healthy, the skies are the limit, and no one can touch his productivity.
Yeah, the skies are the limit, Big C. I know everybody wants to say, you want to shine him. But crown him, the great late Dennis Green, Big C. But everybody has a hiccup. And I know Tampa found that hiccup last year. It wasn't necessarily Patrick Mahomes. I mean, they only scored 9 points in 4 quarters.
Had 2 touchdown passes dropped.
Yeah, that was dropped.
And it's just like you said about Lamar Jackson earlier. It's the team that loses the game.
Yeah.
And the Kansas City Chiefs lost that game. When you look at the productivity of Patrick Mahomes in that game, and you could have won the game against anybody else. He faced the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
He didn't have any hiccups in that game. That was the Kansas City Chiefs with hiccups.
Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs had some hiccups. That's what happens when you put ketchup on your steak. The guys weren't used to it. They didn't have the hiccup. Allegedly. No one threw any arrows. It's just allegedly. It's all fair. in level war. But speaking of hiccups too, sometimes our society has hiccups. And we know our society can be very judgmental. We could even have race issues, racism with the history of this country, Big C. And a lot of times when we talk about gender, as we do on our show, there's no excuse for racism or domestic violence. We know that. But I want to bring up something that a lot of people have been talking about the last couple of days. In the NFL, the macho game that it is, Las Vegas Raiders defensive end Carl Nassib on Monday became the first active NFL player to come out and say that he's a gay American. He's a pretty private person, so he hoped that the guys know that he's really not doing this for attention. He said he's going to start by donating $100,000 to the Trevor Project. Now, the Trevor Project provides crisis intervention and suicide prevention services to the LGBTQ community. The number one suicide prevention services for the LGBTQ community youth in America. Now, Raiders owner Mark Davis said it's 2021. All the more power to Carl. It doesn't change his opinion of him as a person or as a Raider, and of course it should not. Coach John Gruden added he learned a long time ago what makes a man different is also what makes him great. Big, so your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is a powerful move that he made in coming out. And I commend the young man for this, Charlton. You think about how many individuals in America that go around keeping something secret, and they're worried about if somebody sees them coming out of a place or in a particular environment, Charlton, how that would come out in the media, would come out in the negative light. So in beating the story out, Charlton, this is an admirable move because so many young people, as he's donating $100,000 to this organization, Charlton, to help prevent LGBT suicide, Charlton. We talk about that every day on our show, how the suicide prevention can be stopped in America. This is a culture of America, Charlton, that has been ostracized and villainized by a lot of Americans. For him to take this step forward, being in this macho sport, Charlton, think about how many other people now will be at ease and be able to live their lives more comfortably.
You know, I agree. I applaud him for doing whatever he feels he needs to do, and that's his business. And for him to come out and help a lot of other young people, I think that's amazing.
But I look at it from this perspective, Charlton. Think about the number of athletes who beat the crap out of their spouses and stuff, and never come forward and say, "Hey, I'm a spousal abuser." And we've seen players lose their career behind that. This is a guy who's not trying to harm any other individual, but trying to help other Americans.
I think what he did goes a long way in helping a lot of people, especially the youth, Big C. He joined the Raiders in 2020 as a free agent on a 3-year deal, $25 million, $16.75 million guaranteed. He had 2.5 sacks as an interception in 14 games and 5 stars with the Las Vegas Raiders last season. If you recall, former Missouri linebacker Michael Sam, he became the first openly gay player to be drafted in the NFL history in 2014. That's when the Rams took him 249th overall. He was cut by the team at the end of training camp that year and never played a regular season game in the NFL. Ryan Russell, I believe a free agent at that time, came, I think, of playing 3 seasons between the Dallas Cowboys and the Buccaneers, came out also, and he mentioned out his sexual orientation. To me, it's a private matter. No one has to go in and say what their orientation is. Just treat people the way you want to be treated, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Dave Kopay came out years ago. He was a running back for the San Francisco 49ers back in the 70s and admitted that he had been openly gay playing in the NFL. I think one's preference in life is a personal matter, Charlton. I said, people don't step up and say, I'm a spousal abuser, and I should be recognized for that. Because of someone's sexual orientation, Charlton, is a private matter. No one wants to know what goes on in somebody else's bedroom.
No.
This is what you do on your own. But if you can come out and you can help save other American lives, Charlton, by pointing out what your sexual orientation is and your lifestyle, Charlton, I'm all for that.
Yeah, and they need the same type of protection in the workplace. Oftentimes they don't get that. It's all fair.
Well, think about this, Charlton. When you think about the Rainbow Coalition Month, you think about the LGBT community in America. This is that month right now. It's called Pride Month in America. They get 31 days, okay? When we think about black history in America, we only get 28 days.
Well, I get 365 days because I don't need someone to give me a holiday. Every day I rise and shine, and all black Americans should also rise and shine. All life began on the African continent. You can Google it. Don't let anyone choose your days. Choose your own days. It's all fair in level war. And speaking of choosing days, I want to run. Man, they need some ice. I have a solution for the drought in California. Get all the ice hockey arenas and just put them in California and drain them. And when they drain them, they fill up our reservoirs. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, hockey, there's no hockey teams playing in California right now, so that's going to be a little far.
Yeah, that's because we don't have enough water to get the rinks to get ice on them, Big C. It's all fair and level war, Big C. NHL Hockey Playoff Universe. There was no need to panic for the Tampa Bay Lightning, Big C. No need to panic for the Lightning. Just another determined performance against the New York Islanders. Those city slickers that are about 30 miles east of Manhattan, Big C. Steve Stamkos had 2 goals and an assist, and Andre Vasilevskiy, the Big C, noticed he notched his 4th career playoff shutout. That's amazing, his 4th one, helping the defending Stanley Cup champions rout the Islanders 8-0 in Game 5 of their semifinal playoff series, and that was on Monday night. 8-0 is a beatdown on the ice, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they had a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, but when you think about the Lightning,
Yeah.
I mean, they were striking against the New York Islanders, and this is a team that's on a mission.
Yeah.
When this series got tied up 2-2, there was a sense of urgency put behind the Lightning on the ice, Charlton, and they skated the victory in Game 5 in dominant fashion.
Yeah, Vasilevskiy, Big C, did his thing, 4th career shutout. That's amazing. The Lightning, when you think about the Lightning, what they did down in Tampa, Big C, they also improved to 13-0 in games following a postseason loss since launching their 2020 title run, and it will take a 3-2 series lead over the Islanders in the Game 6 of their best-of-7 matchup Wednesday night. That's going to be in Uniondale, New York, about 30 miles east of Manhattan, Big C. Stamkos ignited a 3-goal opening period, the first against the Islanders all season, by scoring just 45 seconds into the game. His power play goal at 5:42 of the second began another 3-goal period that made it 6-0. And to get beat 8-0 in hockey is like being beat 48-0 in football, Big C. Your thoughts?
You know, Charlton, we talked last week about the Arizona Diamondbacks. Seemed like a team that had no quit in them.
Yeah.
That they were trying hard when they set that dubious record of the most consecutive road losses in MLB history. But the one thing that the Lightning put on the Islanders last night, Charlton, they didn't care whether they gave up or not. They just kept scoring.
Yeah, they just kept scoring. It's a great game. It's also competing against the NBA, and I know it's hard to compete against the NBA, Big C, but we talk about how to get people more involved in the sport, and hockey will, in my opinion, will forever be something that's big in Canada, and they love it in Canada more than they love it in the United States. But a lot of teams, when they've expanded into the United States, but that's more for the fan base. But what will it take to make hockey become more of a national pastime, maybe like baseball is, and also, Big C, like football? Not to get every match football, but what do they need to do, Big C, your thoughts?
You have to live in a hockey city, Charlton, and understand what hockey is and what it represents. Because they have sellout crowds in every game. As a matter of fact, the hockey playoff games have had a larger attendance than what the NBA playoff games have had here in the United States. So the fan bases are there. You know, as far as the national perspective,
Yeah.
if you live in a hockey haven, it is the #1 sport around.
Yeah, I mean, they sell out down in San Jose. They sell out all the time. You can't get a ticket, and that's people showing up to watch the Sharks, and they sell out all the time. Can't say the same thing for the San Jose Earthquakes of the USL and also the Oakland A's of Major League Baseball. It's all fair and level war. Speaking of the Oakland A's, the pitch hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Everybody's hitting home runs, Big C. The girls love the long ball, and the men love hitting it deep. It's all fair and level war. Today's Major League Baseball schedule on this beautiful June 22nd. The Reds are at the Minnesota Twins. The Chicago White Sox, Tony La Russa, he decided he wanted to take a nap today in the dugout for the Pittsburgh Pirates, but I wouldn't be surprised if taking a nap helps them win. It's all fair and level war. The Nationals at the Phillies, Big C. The Astros are playing at the Orioles, and the Royals are at the New York Yankees in that beautiful new a couple of years ago, Yankee Stadium, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, baseball is starting to heat up. The boys this summer. The umpires are checking the pitches for the group. Matter of fact, that's already started,
Yeah.
where they can check your hat, your belt, your gloves, Charlton.
Yeah.
They can damn near do strip search. It looks
Yep.
like going to TSA at the airline.
Yeah, it's amazing how some women, you ain't got to strip search them because they already painted on the uniform. It's all fair and level war. Men too, don't get mad, ladies. I've been going to the gym in the morning. Maybe I've been sheltered too much, shelter in place, Big C, but a lot of people, you got to take a double look. It's like, is that person naked, or do they have a kind of a see-through workout gear, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I can't afford to go to the gym. All I want to do is roll out of bed and get to the feet.
Yeah. Some people go to the gym like they go to bed naked. It's all fair in Leavenworth. The Blue Jays at the Marlins, Big C. The Braves are at the Mets. The Cardinals are at the Tigers in Detroit. The Red Sox are at the Rays down there in Tampa. Tampa has a lot of good sports going on. You got the Buccaneers, Big C, Super Bowl champions, the Lightning, Stanley Cup champions. Puts a lot of pressure on the Rays, even though they had a chance. They had the Dodgers on the hook, and then they pulled out a guy that they couldn't hit. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you think about Tampa, Charleston, last year, they were the only city that had all three of their major sports teams in their league finals.
Yeah, in their league finals. The Oakland Athletics at the Texas Rangers. Make sure you bring your own Gatorade athlete. You know, how was an Elephant Fair in Texas with all those Cowboys, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he's riding high, so, I mean, he can take that trunk and swipe some away. This is why Alabama always wins.
Yeah, be careful taking your elephants down to Texas. Those good boys like to shoot things. It's all fair in Leavenworth. The Indians at the Chicago Cubs. And their first place San Francisco Giants at the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. The Milwaukee Brewers at the Arizona Diamondbacks, Big C. You know, there's a lot of good sports going on in Phoenix. Maybe they're the opposite side of what the Suns are doing. They can't win a game. The Suns can't lose a game, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, Arizona is a hotbed in every capacity, the way you want to look at it, no pun intended.
Yep.
The Diamondbacks are on a heater going the wrong direction, and the Suns are ascending.
The Suns are ascending. The Dodgers and the Padres. What a beautiful stadium Petco Park is. Watching some good old boys go yard against the Dodgers last night. The Dodgers left their go-ahead run on third base. But that is a great city in San Diego. They built those high-rise buildings beyond the home field, and they had a packed house down in San Diego last night to watch the Padres get a win. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, beautiful setting in San Diego, one of the most gorgeous cities in America. Great climate to watch a baseball game in.
Yeah, it's all fair in Leavenworth. And the Rockies at the Mariners. I'm looking forward to a lot of good baseball, and everybody's going to have a great time as they're letting the crowds get packed into the stadiums. Everybody's doing a great job. Also, when you think of doing a great job in the world of Major League Baseball, you have this great pitcher, New York Mets ace, Big C, DeGrom, enters his start Monday night against the Atlanta Braves with some impossible seasonal numbers. When you think about what this guy's doing, through 11 starts, Big C, DeGrom has a .54 ERA and a 7.24 ERA, meaning he's 624% better than the league average. To go along with his 13.88 strikeout to walk ratio, he's punched out an astounding 47.8% of the hitters he's faced, all the while walking just 3.4%. He's even contributing with the bat, Big C, not as good as Shohei Ohtani, but having recorded more runs batted in on his own, which are 6, than earned runs allowed, which are 4, Big C. That's like Cy Young Hall of Fame stuff. I'm not going to crown him too soon, but that good boy is playing baseball the way it should be played, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, no pitcher in history has pitched at the level that Jacob DeGrom is pitching right at this moment, Charlton. He is a phenom being a phenom in baseball. He's a current Cy Young Award winner, Charlton. But where he's sitting right now with his ERA and strikeout percentage in baseball, it's mechanical. It's like playing baseball Y2K on a video machine.
Yeah, he probably is. It probably is a video game the way he's doing his thing. Jacob DeGrom, 7-2, did not allow a hit in the 7 innings until the Mets outfielders misplayed a fly ball with 2 outs in the 5th, letting it fall to the ground. And it was a rule double, Big C, ground rule double. The great DeGrom threw 70 pitches, 15 of them over 100 miles per hour. He would get a ticket on the highways, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, what Jacob DeGrom doing, we have not seen, Charlton. I mean, he's lowered his ERA down to a paltry 0.50. Think about that, 0.50. That nobody can hit him. He's unhittable. You talked about the fly ball that was dropped and ruled the ground rule double, Charlton. But when you go out and witness Jacob DeGrom, Charlton, all you got to do is purchase the front of the seat because you don't need it all. You're going to be living on the edge.
You got to be standing up on the edge of that seat. It's all fair. It's spilling a popcorn on the back of somebody's neck. It's all fair. And Leavenworth, the great Jacob DeGrom, 70 pitches, 15 of them over 100 miles per hour with 2 walks and 6 strikeouts. That guy was doing his thing. Also, another fact about Jacob DeGrom, Big C, he's thrown 30 consecutive scoreless innings. Big C, 30 consecutive scoreless innings, 2 2/3 shy of R.A. Dickey's franchise record set. in 2012. His .50 ERA is the lowest by a pitcher through 12 starts in any Major League history, Big C. Opponents are hitting 113 against him. That's like you may as well go back to the dugout. Just go up, go up, stand around home plate, and then go right back to the dugout. Big C, you're done.
I mean, they spend more time swatting flies and mosquitoes away, Charlton, than they do hitting the pitches of Jacob DeGrom.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a time and an era in baseball where you just want to sit back and admire the great performances that he is putting on every time he walks out onto the mound, Charlton.
Yep.
That he has total command and faculties of his total package of pitches.
Yep.
And as a catcher, you have to admire sitting behind the plate, catching this man right today.
Yeah, you're going to have your hands won't be too painful from catching fast balls because he's going to get people out first. You walk up to the plate when DeGrom's pitching, you may as well go back to the dugout, Big C. The lowest average against him of any pitcher in a 12-game span since at least 1901 with a minimum of 70 innings. You go back to 1901 and nobody's in his league, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I want to know who was the stat guy back in 1901.
Yeah, some good old boy. They did it with typewriters and pencils and a piece of paper, unlike the computer generation of today. It's all fair and level. But when you think about the great DeGrom, Big C, he was the first pitcher inspected as part of Major League Baseball's crackdown on foreign substances. And last I checked, he did pass a test. And if he has some foreign substance, Big C, no one can say that people that he's pitching against don't have some type of foreign resistance, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the one thing that the umpires are not checking for, Charlton, is heat.
Yep.
And that's what Jacob DeGrom is bringing.
Yeah, that ball needs a heat shield that the space shuttle used to use before he throws all the label off the leather off of that baseball. It's all fair and level where I wish him nothing but the best as he's striking people up. Jacob DeGrom is pitching. You walk up to the plate. You wait for 4 pitches or 3 pitches. You go right back and sit down. It's all fair and level war. Big C, I wanna close out on this big game. It's a really big game for Phoenix more than LA, in my opinion, because if Phoenix can't lose this game and then go back into LA when they have a raucous crowd, they were doing their thing at Staples Center when they let some crowd in when they got rid of Utah in their series, Big C. But in my opinion, it's more important for Phoenix to go to LA up 2-0 than to go back 1-1 because this team in Los Angeles, Big C, they're playing a lot better basketball when you get them back at Staples Center. But with the Suns, if they win Game 2, they might make quick work of the Clippers. Not so fast, my friend. Some people think so. Tonight in Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals, looking completely comfortable in the moment. The Phoenix Suns can move even closer to their first NBA Finals in 28 years, Big C, when they lost the Los Angeles Clippers tonight, when they host them tonight, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is a game. You think about the Phoenix Suns, they're like flamethrowers.
Yeah.
And the last I checked, the Staples Center was full of paper bags and cardboard
cutouts. No, they had people.
They don't fare well with the heat around.
Yeah. No, they had people last time, Big C. You got to watch the game when you're not on that shine. They're the real people. I know they look the same, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, fake is fake. I mean, here it is, the Clippers. I mean, they're struggling. They got a team that is more athletic than them. Well, when you look at the Utah Jazz that they dispersed from the playoffs, Charlton, this was a team that's led by Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
They didn't have a lot of athleticism on the team.
Yeah.
When you flip it over to Phoenix, this is a team that's full of athletes. You know, you can even start at the center position with Ayton. He can cover anybody on the floor being 7 feet tall. And the Clippers really don't have anybody to match up with him with his dominance inside. They got 3 healthy guards, Charlton, that they can run in and out of the lineup. Devin Booker had a devastating game against the Clippers, but when you look at the balanced scoring that they can bring beyond that, Charlton, the Clippers are going to have their hands full.
Yeah, but Big C, the LA fans may have a word with you, Big C. How do you dare get on a national podcast and call the Nip Tuck Society of the World? How do you say they look plastic in the seats, Big C?
No, they didn't look plastic. They look like cardboard cutouts of paper bags. They don't fare well under the heat. I barbecued earlier, Charlton, and I took a piece of paper and set it on fire to start my burner, Charlton. But here's the scenario.
Yeah.
You come in there with the sun will melt and burn a lot of things. If they were plastic, they'd be stuck to the seat. And if they're all paper, Charlton, they can go up and smoke.
Like Vin Rames was told, the good old boy, in Pulp Fiction, you lost your LA privileges calling the Nip Tuck Society plastic in the seats. Is all fair and level war. Both the Western Conference Finals team will remain down a superstar for Tuesday's game in the matchup. The great Phoenix Suns announced Monday that the great Chris Paul, he's going to still remain in COVID-19 protocol health and safety protocols, Big C. That's not good for Chris Paul. Here's his moment to shine, but oftentimes you got to go through the protocols, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, they didn't miss Chris Paul at all in Game 1. I mean, he's less of a loss to the Phoenix Suns than Kawhi Leonard is to the Los Angeles Clippers, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you think about the balance, I mean, Devin Booker was the leader of this franchise
Amazing.
last year at the guard position without Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Chris Paul just accentuated what they did as a complete team, becoming that floor general, allowing Devin Booker to flourish. And Devin Booker has grown on his two-list, Charlton. You saw his Game 1 performance, the first triple-double of his career. And when you think about the Clippers, they've become accustomed to giving up 40-point performances in each round of the playoffs.
Yeah, like they say, make them wear their arms out from shooting too many times. It's all fair and level war. But if they find themselves in the Western Conference Championship, and nobody gave them a hope, Big C. All they need is hope, Big C. While the Los Angeles Clippers head coach, the great Tyronn Lue, who always says, "I'll be back," confirmed with reporters that the great Claw Kawhi Leonard will remain sidelined with a knee injury, as well as Marcus Morris is questionable with a knee sprain for tonight's game. If there's anything, nobody's believed in them all year long anyway, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, no, Charlton. I mean, they came out rated the second team in the West in the preseason polls.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't believe in themselves because they couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah.
And now they're even more banged up. I mean, you think about Morris and how he accounted for the victories against Utah, averaging over 20 points a game, Charlton.
Yeah.
And he wasn't able to muster that against Phoenix in Game 1. Matter of fact, the three X-Factor players could only muster 20 points as a group.
Yeah.
And now that he's not going to potentially be able to go tonight in the game, you talk about the Clippers going around on the limp.
Yeah, sometimes it's okay to limp. They call it a pimp walk in L.A. It's not limping, Big C. It's just a nip-tuck society, and sometimes someone tucked and nipped too much off of the feet, Big C. It's all fair at level war. The Suns, when you think about it, though, they also have the guard depth to fill in for Paul, Cameron Payne, Cam Johnson. Torrey Craig played well in Game 1. Maybe the Clippers find the magic they had late in the Jazz series. They were down like 25, and they came back against all the odds. And you know, when the Clipper gets closer to the ocean, which is where they'll be next week or later in the week, Big C. But right now, they got to find a way. They used to being in the drought, and there's always a drought in Arizona, so maybe they won't fare as bad as people think, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, they've been burning up and scorching. I mean, you think about they went up to Utah, it was a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
And now that they've come down to the desert, they had the heat turn up on them, Charlton. But
Yeah.
this young Suns team will keep the optimum pressure on the Clippers tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, Devin Booker shot over 50% from the floor. There's no way that they can allow him to do that again, Charlton, and expect to win any games in this series.
Yeah.
They have to keep him at 40% if they have any type of chance.
Yeah, it's all fair and level war. A lot of good things going on in NHL. Stanley Cup playoffs, looking for Lord Stanley's Big C Cup. It's all fair and level war. Major League Baseball is hitting it deep. Everybody's trying to go deep. It's all fair and level war. NBA basketball, a lot of good boys are just trying to find their way, and if they can get through history, they're doing the best they can. I just hope that everybody stays healthy. WNBA basketball is doing their thing. I'm glad that people are going to start getting treated fairly. Hopefully judge people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin or their orientation. It's all fair and level war. I want to finish out on African American history, Big C. Northwest Ordinance in 1787, Big C, those Northwest Ordinance, in addition to laying out the procedure for future states to be created in Western territories, Big C, the Northwest Ordinance, it forbade slavery in the Northwest Territory, where the future states of Michigan would be created and other states out west. I want people to all Google that. It's important to realize when you know your history, oftentimes you have a better understanding of where you're going in the future. Everybody stay safe. Try to save water in California, and wherever you are, stay hydrated. Big C, time to rise and shine. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, "You float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. With all you've got to use, how can you lose, Big C? What are you looking forward to in the sports universe?"
Well, Charlton, when you're hanging out down in the desert, you can have a bird that's called a sun that will float like a butterfly. You can have a rattlesnake that'll bite you that'll sting like a bee. All my sympathies to the Los Angeles Clippers tonight, Charlton, as they go home 0-2 to the Phoenix Suns.
It's all fair and love it war. Want to thank all of our first responders. If you're down in Arizona, they might need you looking out for those rattlesnake bites and all fair at Leavenworth. But you don't have to look out for rattlesnakes every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, as my mama always said, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.